Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel. No coffee at the moment because we are getting later in the evening on Sunday, and I do have quite a long week this week. I have a couple kind of bigger things happening that I'm pretty excited about, but that's just my personal life, so I will leave that out of the picture for now. However, we're going to talk about a book called Hekate by, by Nikita. Let me see what her last name was. Gill, Nikita Gill. So let me just start off and preface by saying that I had the audiobook, and though the story is very interesting to me because it is fully based in mythology, and then the author kind of explores a couple avenues as well, making Hekate feel a little bit more, I guess you could say, human, even though she is Titan born. The narrator did not work for me. I will not decrease my scoring for this book because I was not vibing with the narrator, because I do think the book itself is very good. I love mythology. I'm about to try to pursue my PhD in epic poetry and literature, which will definitely include me diving into quite a few, and I say that kind of loosely because I think I have 30 to 32 epics right now on my shelf ready for me to go in and start tabbing for kind of my research gathering. However, so I just wanted to preface by saying that, again, the narrator didn't work for me in the audiobook. If I had had the ebook or the physical book, I think it would have been fantastic, but it can be a little dry. That is my one kind of nugget of information. If you are not a very big, I guess, fan or lover of mythology, then this book may come across as potentially a little uninteresting. However, because I have such a love for it, I found it very interesting as I I got a really flushed out version or view of Hekate as the goddess of various things. So, before we dive into the book itself, Hekate is a goddess in the ancient Greek religion. This is from Wikipedia, so you're welcome to also go along. And I'm not going to read the whole Wikipedia page, it is quite lengthy. But she is considered, the goddess of magic, spells, the moon, the night, and crossroads. Now you're probably like, the night? Well, Nyx is considered also goddess of the night or the darkness or what have you, but there's a couple reasons why Hekate kind of gets thrown in there as well, and this book does kind of explore those. And so some of her animals are dogs and a polecat. Don't really know about the polecat, but dogs definitely make sense because she does become friends with Cerberus, which is Hades' three-headed dog. She also there's another reference as well, but I'll talk about that in a minute because I think I should dive into the summary. So, it is kind of a lengthy summary now that I'm looking for it. Oh, okay. I do see some of its advanced praise for Hekate, so we won't probably read that part. A propulsive, electrifying, and enraging retelling of the Greek goddess Hekate, a child of war turned all-powerful goddess of witchcraft and necromancy, by international best-selling poet Nikita Gill. Born into a world on fire, godling Hekate has never known safety. After her parents are on the losing side of the war between the ruling Titans and new Olympian gods, Hekate is taken by her mother Asteria to the Underworld, where Styx and Hades agree to raise her. Meanwhile, Asteria is pursued across the world by Zeus and Poseidon, and to escape their clutches transforms herself into an island in a stormy sea. Orphaned and alone, Hekate grows up among the horrors and beauties of the underworld, desperate to find her divine purpose and a sense of belonging in the land of the dead. When Hekate finally uncovers her powers and ascends to goddess status, she realizes that even the most powerful Olympians are terrified of her. But when Immortal immortal war breaks out again, threatening to destroy everything from Mount Olympus to the underworld itself. The goddess of witchcraft and necromancy is the only one who can bring the deadly conflict to an end. So, now I will just make comment that Jennifer Saint, who wrote Ariadne, she does leave some praise for Hekate. I do believe this book is very well written. I think the prose are wonderfully done, and the imagery is, I mean, it's so very atmospheric that like you can kind of feel when she's walking through various parts of the underworld with the way that things are described, the Elysium fields and paradise and all the kind of levels in between. She even is it Thanatos? Not Thanos. That's the one who does a snap and like destroys half. Like that's Marvel. This is the Greek pantheon. So I think it's Thanatos, who is kind of, I guess you could say the Grim Reaper is probably the closest, like, if you want to kind of picture something. However, I think some people are scared of the Grim Reaper, and Thanatos is not meant to be scary. He is meant to be almost very benevolent, very caring. And I do love when, I guess, Death himself is described or depicted as a caring soul who does it more to usher and just gently guide a soul that has parted. They are not the one who does the reaping. They are the ones who simply take the soul so they are not alone as they cross to the other side. So that is how I really enjoy that persona or personification of death to be depicted. Now, this really does take you on a very good journey from the beginning of kind of Hecate's life all the way to kind of like her really coming into her power and finding her place as a goddess. So she does a lot of growing up, but you do also feel like she stays young for a very long time. And I think that's absolutely true because, again, she is an immortal goddess. And so I don't think there's a time frame for them to age the same way we humans do. In the span of maybe, 25 or 30 years, she may only appear to be 1 or 2 years older. I mean, that's just my perception because she, again, is an immortal. She didn't pop out of the sea foam like Aphrodite, who was just like, or was that Athena who just popped out of her father's head, like fully formed? Yeah, I think it was like Zeus had a headache, and like in that headache, like Athena popped out of his head, fully formed. And then Aphrodite is kind of like, I think fully formed from like sea foam, something like that. But Hekate seems to start as a child, and she is brought to the underworld as a child or childlike appearance. She is not versed fully in the, the ins and outs of how everybody is connected at first, but she does start to realize that everybody, all of the immortals, are more or less brothers, uncles, cousins, aunts, all these sorts of things. Cousins, she's got probably millions of cousins. I can't even tell you, because she does talk about, I think it's like the naiads and dryads as being ones she would play with in the past. So there's that as well. Now, I think it was about 12 hours long, and it does say it's about 384 pages with expected publication of September 16th, 2025. I didn't say that earlier. I surely should have put that a little bit sooner. But it does seem to fall into fantasy, mythology, poetry, and of course Greek mythology and retellings. Now, I would often with retellings, they seem to take a bit of a step away and kind of reimagine something about the life of this particular god or goddess that they are talking about. I feel like, based on the lore that I previously knew of Hekate, it's pretty spot on, and it's just a little fleshed out more to make it more story-like, to give it more of a storyline of her growing up. because again, like going back to when Hecate was first introduced, I want to say it was Theogony, or no, it was Hesiod's Theogony, where I want to say she first kind of appears. And so, and that was in the 8th century. She is a goddess of great honor with domains in the sky, earth, and sea. And so she had a popular following among the witches of Thessaly and an important sanctuary among the Carians of Asia Minor. And earliest evidence of Hecate's cult comes from Selenunite, I don't know, in Sicily. So, just putting that out there. Now, she was considered, this is again coming from Wikipedia, so please do not think that I'm pulling any of this from my head. It is coming from the screen. And you are welcome to go and read it to make sure that I haven't taken too much out of context. I don't think I am. I did try to read through it a little earlier, and I was only going to talk about that very first little block before it gets to her name and kind of all of that. But she was one of several deities worshipped in ancient Athens as a protector of the household. And so that is kind of, I think it's pretty important to talk about, because that's a pretty important role for Hecate to have such a, I mean, she's up there with Zeus and Hestia, Hermes and Apollo. So just kind of putting that out there for you guys. Now, within this story, she does meet with Hermes. She gets to encounter quite a few different gods and goddesses along the way. She does have to kind of learn that after her mom drops her off at the Underworld with, you know, Styx being personified as a female, and of course Hades. And I want to say Hades is kind of like this uncle-esque figure. He seems very, very calm. Like, I don't know. I guess a lot of people, I don't know how you all perceive Hades. Perhaps the Disney-inspired blue hair, maybe that comes to mind. But I don't know. Every time I've thought of Hades, in most respects, he's been like a grandfatherly figure. And again, kind of similar to like Thanatos, who was the personification of death. It's like, I don't think they're malicious, because souls need to go somewhere once they've departed the earth. And sure, of course, the mythologies are never going to be like always positive. There's some light and dark in most of those situations. But for me, like, my overarching thought is that Hades was not a bad dude. But I mean, we get a little bit of back and forth in this particular book with him kind of having this fatherly, grandfatherly figure as it comes to Hecate. I think there's a little bit of like being protective, as well as kind of being like, you know, well, you're not my daughter sort of thing. So just throwing that out there for you guys. However, she is wandering kind of the earth with Thanatos as he's doing his job, and comes across this boy and his little dog, and the boy is absolutely sobbing. Now, is there animal death? Yes. However, this particular story is going to end well, so just be prepared. The dog does not die in the end. Well, not right away, not unless you know the rest of the story. But Thanatos and Hecate find this little boy, and he's sobbing, holding this puppy who's about to pass away. And so Hecate reaches down at the last moment as this puppy's kind of taking its last breath, and within moments he comes back to life. And so the little boy, though he was so heartbroken, is now absolutely ecstatic. His puppy is back. And it's very interesting because this puppy's name is Argos. This is where I got the name of Argos from, the loyal companion of Odysseus. Now, Argos did not go with Odysseus on the Odyssey. However, the Argos puppy did not pass away until Odysseus was back. And so Odysseus was a very elderly man by that point. And that's a really important story, because that puppy, I mean, they're always forever puppies, but he lived an unnaturally long life, and this story tells us it's because Hekate brought him back at kind of from the edges of his death. So, honestly, the name of Argos did come from that story of, well, it came from the Odyssey, and that's why I named my little guy Argos, is because I knew he was going to be my loyal forever companion for all the days of his life. And so just kind of wanted to highlight that. But I think it's really great because at this particular moment, that is when Hecate kind of realizes she's a necromancer. She can bring back the dead. And I don't think I'm going to spoil too much more for you, but if you're looking for a lot of action, I would say it's not here. We are not having those kind of battles in this, like in this book. It is much more mythology based. So we are telling a story. These things have happened in the past. And I think if anybody has kind of a general knowledge of Hecate or the Greek gods or anything, then you kind of know where things are going to go from there. So we're not reinventing the wheel too much, and we're not coming up with a whole lot of new things, just, I guess an entirely different storyline that maybe doesn't fit her character. But overall, I really recommend it if you are a fan of mythology or of retellings, but don't expect earth-shattering action. Yes, I know we have Titans and Olympians fighting, but it's not that kind of earth-shattering, really. This is just kind of a narrative in prose about the life of Hecate. So, just putting that out there because I was kind of curious because again, I didn't read the summary until I just got here with you guys. And it was saying a propulsive, electrifying, and enraging retelling of the life of the Greek goddess. And yeah, I could be enraged for her and the way she was treated, but propulsive and electrifying makes me think that it's buzzing with energy and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, it was very intriguing, but I would read Hesiod's Theogony. I don't know if a lot of people would. I probably have it on my shelf in there, but that's what I'm saying is unless you are an avid reader of mythology and you like the way those are told, this may not be in a narrative that fits your style. Should you pick it up? Sure, if it feels right, but I'm not going to say it's going to be everyone's cup of tea. So, with all of that being said, I am going to leave it here. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I hope you'll consider it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one.